Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. I'm Anthony. Today we're going to be going over different types of shoes for different types of activities. I got an expert here today, Tony Weiss. He is a local Fleet Feet owner. He has three shops in Northern California, Brentwood, Stockton, and Modesto. And he's going to give us the insight of what shoe to use for what activity, what's your goal, and Tony, take it away, man.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
No problem.
Hey, first and foremost, what I want to say is every shoe is a running shoe. Every shoe is a walking shoe. Every shoe is an athletic shoe. And really, it's about what activity it is that you're doing and that big wall of shoes that we have. When you come, you look and you're overwhelmed. They're all great shoes. It's about finding the right shoe for you based on what it is that you're doing. Whether it's you're doing functional fitness at ASAP Fitness, whether you're running through the neighborhood, doing trail runs, whether you're walking, whatever it is you're doing, we're going to find the right shoe. We're going to gear you in a certain direction. We're going to have you find the right fit and the right function for you. And we're going to listen to the things that you like and you want in the shoe. We're going to put all those things together. We're going to find the right shoe for you. So Anthony asked me to come out here today and talk about footwear and kind of the directions that we are talking about. So we've got a bunch of shoes here on the floor. We're going to go over all those things individually for you and talk about the directions we typically gear towards. So,
sounds good.
Yeah.
So hey, let's start with functional fitness.
Yep, functional fitness.
First
what
one?
you guys do.
Yeah. Bread and butter,
SAB
right?
Fitness, right on. So we talked about it. All shoes are running shoes. Yep, this is a running shoe. Every shoe we see is a running shoe. It's a walking shoe. It's a functional fitness shoe. But what direction are we going to go in when we start talking about functional fitness shoes? Well, when you're doing functional fitness, you're doing more stationary motions. You're doing plyometrics. You're lifting weights. So now we talk about a running shoe that has less offset to the shoe. And what that means is how high your heel is versus your forefoot. A typical running or walking shoe has somewhere between 8 to 10 millimeters offset, meaning your heel is 8 to 10 millimeters higher than your forefoot. And that just became the standard bearer for shoes way back when. It used to be 12 millimeters. But a lower offset shoe in your functional fitness shoe. So for instance, this shoe is called the Ultra Viho. The Viho is a zero offset shoe. Your heel and your forefoot are the exact same height. So you have that full contact with the ground when you're doing those functional fitness motions. And then moving into another shoe, the next shoe, the Saucony Kimbara. This is actually one of my favorite shoes when it's a lightweight trainer.
Yeah,
but I
lifted it up.
But I like to use it as my functional fitness shoe. So when I am doing my workouts, this has a 4 millimeter offset, but it has a little bit more stack height to it. So it's got a little more cushion to it.
Got it.
But it still has that lower offset, and I like that feel. Is it a running shoe? Yeah, it's a lightweight running shoe. That's the category of it, but a great crossover functional fitness shoe.
So with those two shoes that you just went over, is there like a certain mileage where it's like if you're running like more than 5 miles or 10 miles or 30 miles, would you recommend not using that because you're running?
So like if we're talking about when you're doing your workouts or your ASAP Fitness workout, and you've got a little bit of running in there, all these shoes here are still going to be good for that. You know, you're not going to get into that high mileage shoe, and none of the functional fitness shoes are high mileage shoes. That's why I say it's a good crossover shoe. But when you go out and you're going to do your quarter mile sprints, or you're going to go do your 1 or 2 mile run, you're totally going to be fine in a shoe like this. As opposed to, if you're in a true functional fitness shoe, whether it's a Nike Metcon, a No Bull, there's a lot of good things out there. Those shoes are great shoes.
Yeah.
When you're doing a little bit more cardio work in those shoes, sometimes it's not as good. It hurts a little bit more. It's just a little stiffer.
Yeah.
Not as much cushion in it, and that's where
very little cushion.
Very little cushion. Yeah. But I think those are great shoes. So if you're going to have that shoe, hey, when I'm doing my days where we've got more cardio, I'm going to run a little more. Having that second pair of shoes in my bag that I can do a quick change out.
Yeah.
Throw on a pair of running functional fitness shoes. Totally good. Absolutely. So having 2 pairs is great. If you're going to go to one, you're on those cardio days, it's good to have that functional fitness lower offset shoe.
If you do both, it's going to be a lot more comfortable, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what a Metcon feels like. You know what a Nano feels like. You know what a Noble feels like. They feel good when we're doing that functional fitness.
I feel a difference.
Big difference, yeah. And that has to do with the density of the EVA or the midsole material.
Got it.
Let's move on to the next one. So the next shoe this is called an On Cloud Flyer. And all On shoes are made with 6 millimeters of offset. So that heel is 6 millimeters higher than the forefoot. But you notice the stack height's much thinner on this shoe. So it's the On Cloud technology. It just happens to be how they cushion the foot. And then specifically in this shoe and all On shoes, this lateral line, and that lateral line takes away shear force motions of the shoe. So when we're doing some functional fitness, sometimes we've got some of those side-to-side movements that help stabilize the foot a little bit more. Obviously very lightweight too. So it's another option we drift towards when we start talking about functional fitness.
Got it.
And then lastly, when we start talking about functional fitness and running crossover shoes, Nike Infinity Epic React. React material from Nike is kind of their proprietary real plush ride. We still offer some support, but you get that sock-like feature. The offset's lower on it. Again, a great crossover shoe. Yep, I can run some miles in this. I can do 10 miles in this, but I know I can do my functional fitness at the same time in that shoe too.
Nice.
And then now you start talking about fit. Those all have different fits. So what we are experts in is fitting you through your footwear. So it's like, okay, I'm not just going to grab those shoes because you said you do majority functional fitness. It's really about, okay, what's the shape of your fit? What are the feels that you like? And that's where our expertise in Fit ID and 3D scanning technology and biomechanic analysis helps us determine which the right direction to go in those shoes.
See, how important is that? Because I've never even done any of that before.
Yeah, it's the most important. Biomechanics and the fit of the shoe.
Yeah.
Making sure that foot remains in subtalar neutral. We know that we're less likely to be injured if our foot stays in subtalar neutral, which means we want to see a nice straight line from the ankle, the knee to the hip. We're less likely to be injured. We can participate in our activity a lot longer. So that's the biomechanics of the foot. Fit ID and the 3D scan that we do is hyper accurate measurements of foot. It's length of foot individually down to a tenth. It's the width of the foot. It's the height of the arch. It's the height of the instep. It's the width of the heel. It's the girth of the ball of the foot, and it's the girth of the instep. I can take all that information, and now I'm making decisions before I even get in the back to pull shoes. I know what's going to work for you, and then the biomechanics of the foot and what your foot does, and making sure it stays in the right position.
So like the different brands will have different attributes to it.
Yeah.
So whatever you scan in your foot, you're like, oh, this brand's gonna be best for your shape.
It's gonna be a good choice. We always want to give choices. And great question, because like the On shoe that we just talked about, functional fitness. Well, we know as a brand, On is a Swiss company. They run really long. They also run on the narrower side. So I know I'm going to be sizing someone down because of our expertise. And I know I can't use a high volume foot in that shoe because it just is not a high volume shoe.
Yeah.
So we talk about all those shoes being great functional fitness shoes. What's going to be the right one for you? And this is just an example. Again, there's 110 different shoes on the wall at the store. We're going to be able to find you 2 or 3 good choices, try them on the foot, find that right fit, find that right function. But you're part of that process. What's that right feel and what do you like on your foot?
Got it.
Yeah.
And the looks too, right? Exactly.
All things being equal, you can pick some looks. Yeah. So let's move on to a little bit about talking about like walking shoes. Again, walking shoes, running shoes, functional fitness shoes, they're all the same.
Yep.
So this next shoe here, this is called a Hoka Bondi, and Hoka's all about maximalism, and that's just what the brand does.
I've seen a lot of those around. I think I've seen a lot of trails. People running with that trail.
Yeah,
It
actually Hoka became popular, fastest growing shoe brand in the last 5 years.
Oh wow.
And run specialty, and primarily because of that ultra running trail community, they gravitated towards it first, trickled down, doing really well in the podiatric or medical referral community. Hoka makes shoes on maximalism platforms. So big, thick midsoles, that's where the cushion comes from. They still address shoes with support built into them. This is the Bondi. The Gaviota has a J-frame construction, so now it's about big cushion, but still getting support. There's a couple other models that, this is the Bondi. It's big cushion, it's neutral, but it's a full fit. Okay, someone needs a neutral shoe, still wants big cushion, doesn't have a high volume foot. We can gravitate towards a shoe like the Arahi. The Clifton. Oh, well, the Clifton might be running long. Do we need to go a size down? Again, talking about expertise. Why do I bring this up during walking? My nickname for this company is the Disney walking shoe. When someone comes in and says, oh, I'm going to Disneyland for a week, I'm like, all right, Yeah, we're not going any further. Big plush ride, big cushion, because that's typically what walkers are looking for. But then we are addressing
walking on clouds.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still addressing offset here.
Got
So
it.
even though it's a big stack height, this still only has 5 millimeters of stack height. Of offset. So it's got less offset than the on does. Even though the on looks like it's so much lower. But that's stack height.
Yeah.
So we still put someone back on their heel. Why is it a good medical shoe? People with plantar fasciitis, they've got that heel pain, and a lot of it has to do with the transverse and fascia arch, but it also has to do with the soleus. So if I can drop that heel and put more stretch on their Achilles, more stretch on their soleus, it helps speed up the recovery of plantar fasciitis and still giving them a big cushion. So it's just a shoe I like to talk about walking. Is it a running shoe? Yep, it's a running shoe.
Yeah.
Is it a functional fitness shoe? No, it's not a functional fitness shoe. So bigger stack height, I don't want to put someone doing functional fitness. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to do a side motion. Oh, I might fall off of that platform. So that's another, when we start talking about, are all these shoes right for you? Yeah, they're all the right shoes. Now, I'm not going to gear someone towards functional fitness on a shoe like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why you would pick a higher or more dense shoe, with stack
height? How bigger stack height? It's a trend.
Preference, or is that like what you want to feel like, or is it more activity based?
I don't want to say it's activity based. It's more of that feel. So maximalism shoes, and Hoka started the movement, was about creating this big, thick midsole that's nice and soft on the foot. Because a lot of times people, when they get fit, I want a soft shoe. That's what they're looking for. When we go through a fit process, we give them different options so they know what responsive feels like, so they know what super soft feels like, so they know what good workhorse feels like. But Hoka just built their whole model off of maximalism, doing really well. Yeah. It's very popular. Now we're seeing other brands starting to follow the trend. The New Balance Fresh Foam More, maximalism shoe, that they're kind of going after that Hoka market. We're seeing some shoes from Saucony coming out in latter part of 2020 that are maximalism. So there's something to say about it.
Yeah.
It's just one direction. And now we start talking about what is it that you like. I have a pair of Hoka Bondis on today. Yeah. I like walking around the store. I don't like running in the shoe because that's my preference. I don't like a soft shoe.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Excellent information.
So now we're going to move into shoes, and we're going to talk about technology as far as moving the foot through the gait cycle. And this is why, when you get fitted for shoes, you always want to go to a specialty place. People that know their stuff.
Yeah.
And, we're staying on top of research. We're staying on top of what brands are doing and what models are doing. And now the evolution of footwear is, how do we move the foot through the gait phase more efficiently and more quickly? We all saw Nike try to break the 2-hour marathon with the 4%, and then came the next percent. And that was about efficiency and spring loading and carbon fiber and getting through that gait phase quicker. And so those are devices built into the shoe. So there's an example in this one, and we're going to go over 3 different models here as far as moving through the gait phase more efficiently. This is called the Karhu Iconi. And you can kind of see here this little speckled area. This is called the fulcrum technology. So imagine as you heel plant in your running shoe or your walking shoe. You heel plant, you come into midfoot stance, you get to toe off and propulsion phase. And you go through that phase, however it is you do it, with your biomechanics, however it is.
Okay.
There's a rate of return on that. Well, how do we speed that up? How do we move through it more efficiently? In this shoe, it's the fulcrum technology. So you can imagine when you hit the apex of the fulcrum at midfoot stance and you start to teeter forward, so like a teeter-totter. If you're going forward, we're now moving the force or the energy in the shoe forward.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through that gait phase faster. So that's a device that's built into the shoe. Fulcrum technology from Karhu. The carbon fiber plate that's in a Next Percent. That's in a Saucony Endorphin Pro. That's in the Hoka Carbon X. Actual devices built into the shoe. Then we'll move on to actual materials in the shoe. So this is called the Brooks Levitate, and Brooks uses a midsole material called AMP DNA.
Same thing as far as the fulcrum point on this?
No.
Okay.
So now that was a device that's built into the shoe. Now this is the whole midsole material.
Okay.
So AMP DNA, think of it as in a traditional athletic shoe, it's a cushion, it's a sponge, as absorbing force load. AMP DNA, think of it as like a spring.
Okay.
As you land and engage those springs, it's absorbing that force load. But what happens to a spring when you release?
Yeah,
it springs you forward. That's material. So amp DNA, as you land is soft, as you come into midfoot toe-off propulsion phase, returning that energy back to the shoe. That's Brooks' proprietary material. You've seen it in Adidas. In Adidas, it was called Energy Boost. That's what Energy Boost material is. In Saucony, it was called Everrun. So all the manufacturers doing it, they all have different ways of doing it. It's even the geometry of the shoe, and something like an Asics Novo Blast, and how they ramp that toe, and how they build those rockers or fulcrum or meta rockers into the shoe.
Wow.
There's actually a meta rocker built in the hook, because I said, hey, that's a walking shoe, but a lower offset, we're going to move the foot through the gate phase with that meta rocker in the shoe. And then moving into something like a Diodora, where you can't see it, but we know it. So inside the shoe is called Blue Shield. So this, I love saying the name of the shoe. This is the Diodora Mythos Blue Shield Fly Hip 3. Yep,
Wow.
That's the name of the shoe. But the most important thing about this shoe is Blue Shield. And Blue Shield is a full-length midsole material built into the EVA of this that's very similar to Amp DNA, that's very similar to Energy Boost. You just can't see it. So if you looked at the wall, you would have no idea. That's why talking to an expert and feeling it. And obviously it's less material, so it's a lighter weight material. So that's the evolution of footwear, of moving the foot through the gate phase.
Okay.
So now we'll talk about an older technology. It's been around forever, but we talk about supporting the foot. We talk about supporting the foot for those people that need support based on the biomechanics of the foot. In a Mizuno, it's the wave plate technology. In an Asics, it's a dual max post. It's a second density of EVA. It's a combination of full contact midsole, the density of that EVA, because some people need support built in their footwear. Some people need an orthotic, a Superfeet orthotic, a Curex orthotic. That's kind of all those things we put together based on your biomechanics and other things that you need. But the great thing about it is with Fit ID, it populates onto the iPad. So instead of me telling you what I'm seeing, that scan I just took in 6 seconds, I'm now showing you your foot three-dimensionally and showing you all those measurements, but then showing you the biomechanics of your foot.
Exactly.
So in Mizuno with the wave plate technology, now you're talking about how we can support the foot with that wave plate, but also how instead of absorbing force load with a big cushioning agent, we can disperse force load 360 degrees with that wave plate technology. So in a Mizuno, the Mizuno has that more responsive feel, because instead of absorbing force load with a soft cushioning agent, that force load is dispersed 360 degrees, and that energy is then moved down the shoe. So guess what? That technology has been around forever.
Okay.
Mizuno's always had that technology. They've always had an 8 to 10 millimeter offset shoe. It's just a different feel. It's a more responsive, a little firmer ride. That's not a bad thing. That's a personal preference. What did I say about the Hokas? The soft shoe. I like walking around the store in it, but I don't like running in it because my foot likes a responsive shoe. Now you may get in that shoe and go, hey Tony, that feels too firm. That doesn't feel right. I like the feeling of this shoe. If we address biomechanics and fit, it's what you like too at the same time.
Got it.
And then getting in, go ahead.
I was gonna say for that. So say for example, you start with a more rigid shoe, and then
not rigid.
Sorry,
responsive.
Responsive. Okay, sorry. You got a lot of different words I never use when I talk about shoes. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if could someone start with a less cushioned shoe? Sorry, less responsive.
Yeah.
Less responsive shoe.
Yeah.
And then switch over because I said it was a personal preference.
Yeah.
Is that just? Can you get used to a different kind of shoe when you keep using it, or are you kind of like, would you ever maybe start running these and then like it more, or would you?
Everybody's a little different.
Okay.
I have multiple shoes for different things that I do.
Got it.
I've got my Saucony Kinvar for my functional fitness, and actually for anything that's 3 miles or less. I like a little lightweight trainer. Is it a little softer than I typically like? Yeah, but it's kind of that happy medium. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I personally like Mizuno. I run into Mizuno because I like a firm, responsive shoe.
Yeah.
It's also why On works for my foot. As far as underfoot feel, not a great fit for my foot because I've got a wider foot, and we talked about that, having a little narrower footbed. Can people go back and forth? Absolutely they can. Some people may want a different feel when they're doing a different type of workout versus running long distance versus doing some interval or sprint work versus doing some functional fitness. Can you go back and forth? Absolutely.
And would that have any difference in performance wise if you're doing like a more less responsive shoe and a more responsive shoe?
No, you shouldn't. There should be absolutely no issues as far as performance.
Got it.
It's about that feel underfoot, and the only way your performance is affected is if you're in the wrong shoe, in the sense of I'm not getting the right support, and that means my foot's not remaining in subtender neutral. I know I'm not as efficient that way, so we really want to get the foot there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's move on to a classic, traditional running shoe. Old school. Asics Kayano. 1992, I ran my first marathon in a pair of Asics Kayanos. And what it has is a dual max support system, because that's what I need. I need support. In 1992, guess what the support mechanism was? Dual max, dual density. Guess what the gel...
I wouldn't have guessed that.
The cushioning agent in the shoe was Asics gel. Guess what's still in Asics? Asics gel. 10 millimeter offset from heel to toe. Back in 1992, it was 10 millimeters offset. The only thing that changed is the weight of midsole materials. This is called flight foam. It's been called Spiva 55. It's been called Solite 50. It's been called Solite 45. Cushioning materials have gotten thinner. Midsole materials have gotten lighter. So obviously they're putting new technology. Upper materials have gotten seamless, no overlays, because of this engineered mesh.
More breathable, maybe.
They're all been breathable, but we take stitching off of shoes. Now when you take stitching off of shoes, you don't have any chance of any overlays or rubbing in the wrong place. So just better upper fits to it. A classic shoe. Like I said, in 1992, I ran my first marathon in it. Nothing's changed other than materials getting lighter and better performance materials. It's not going anywhere. The Asics Kayano is a high mileage running shoe for the right fit and the right function. Can a person walk in it? Yep. Can a person go do some functional fitness in it? Yep, they sure can. And this technology, I always like to bring it out because it's where footwear is. It's not going anywhere. All those things we looked at, that's the evolution of footwear. Yeah, that's a direction we're going, but I don't think old school technology is going to change. It's not going to change. It's not. It's always going to be around. It's always going to be around. I brought in a pair of shoes that was in my rugby bag for 25 years. It was a pair of Asics, and I brought it to my staff about 5 years ago. I pulled it out. It was an Asics 1100 series. Dual max post, gel cushioning. Now the gel was hard as a rock.
Still there.
I'm like, guys, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I mean, you can tell that this shoe's 25 years old.
So it still works, right?
It still works. Yeah, still
don't
works.
need to redo the mousetrap. What is it?
You're building a better mousetrap here because you're getting different feels, you're getting different cushioning, you're getting different technologies, and that's the evolution of footwear. The footwear company's got to do it. Hey, they've got the technology to build a shoe that will last you a lifetime. They can do that. You're not gonna make a car payment on the shoe. So designed obsolescence shoes, they break down. You never go longer than 6 months on your footwear. They break down cushioning, support, the upper. You just want to replace your shoes every 6 months.
Want a new look, right?
New look, stylistic change, new cushioning, new blend of midsole materials, new upper material, style, always a big part of it. But you never go longer than 6 months on your footwear. And then depending on the type of footwear, lightweight trainers, you get like 300 miles out of. Mid-mileage trainers like a 400-mile shoe. High-mileage trainer counts like 500 miles. And then within a brand, that can change. Mizuno Waveflake technology tends to break down a little faster. So you say like 50 miles less depending on what category you're in. Something like an On, lower stack height, those cloud pods, they're not going to last you as long. The Nike Pegasus Turbo 2, I love that shoe. You talked about like I don't like a soft shoe. That was a soft shoe, and I actually like doing some speed work in it, but it's a high mileage shoe, 250 miles on it. That Zoom X midsole material broke down, it was toast. Yeah, so, knowing that we wear test stuff, manufacturer says this, we're gonna give you the lowdown. What's the real deal on it? Yeah. And then of course, I still want to hit the category of trail because, we've got time
it's
now.
getting more popular, right?
Yeah, there's lots going on right now. I sit there in my sunroom reading the paper in the morning. I'm like, who's that runner? Who's that runner? A lot of people running, a lot of people walking. We've got time now.
Yeah.
So we're getting up to the trail. It used to be like, I get to the trail on a Saturday. Now it's like,
I got
all day long. So a trail shoe is really important in the sense that it's giving you better traction when you're on your trail, and it's protecting your foot from the elements that are out there on the trail. Sticks, stones, rock, debris, all that kind of stuff. This happens to be the Fresh Foam Hero from New Balance. So you get a more sticky, tactile outsole to this. So it's grippier, just the material itself. the traction and lug patterns are directional so that you can ascend and descend. Specifically, they use a Vibram outsole on this. Vibram is an outsole company. That's all they do. And New Balance buys that from them. Different philosophy on trail.
Yeah.
So we talked about all these other shoes and biomechanics of foot and how we fit and using Fit ID and gait phase analysis. So on the trail, our philosophy is we want the foot to be a little bit more free. So you're running on this hard asphalt, you're running on the sidewalk, and we really talk about biomechanics of foot and saying subtalar neutral. Well, when you're on the trail, the surface is like this.
Yeah.
Why do I want to try to manipulate your foot in a certain direction? I want you to be a little bit more natural on the trail.
Okay.
So all of our trail shoes are neutral shoes, meaning there's no support built in this shoe. We want to be a little bit more natural. On top of that, we talk about the upper and protecting us from the elements. Well, things like gusset tongues where the tongue is sewn in, so you have less of a chance of debris getting in there. A tighter weave on the material. Hydrophobic materials where it actually beats the water off if you're doing like an early morning run where it's dewy through a field, or you start getting in the winter months. And then what you can't see in this shoe, but like rock guard or stone guards built in the midsole. We typically, you're ascending and descending a trail, you get some roots sticking up, some rocks on there.
I've done that before.
You get a stone bruise on the ball of the foot. Yeah, so a good trail shoe is going to have a stone guard built into it too. So always great to have that trail shoe specific for when you can get to the trail. It's just going to give you a little bit better traction, protect the foot a little bit more, and let the foot be a little bit more natural.
Got it. Cool, guys. So a lot of information here. If you do have any questions, leave a comment below. Tony, where can they find you if they got any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. With 3 locations, they can contact us at any of our facilities. You can contact us at Fleet Feet Stockton. Phone number there is 209-952-1446. Or our Modesto location, Fleet Feet Modesto, area code 209-549-9323. Brentwood, California, our newest location over on the other side of the Delta. You can reach us there at area code 925-306-0830. You can always check us out online at www.fleetfeetstockton.com, fleetfeetmodesto.com, or fleetfeetbrentwoodca.com. And then, of course, social media, fleetfeetsmb.com, Instagram, fleetfeetsmb, that's our handle. We do that on Instagram and at Facebook.
So yeah, like I said, guys, I didn't know there was not even that much difference in shoes. So I learned a lot today. If you guys do have any questions or want to see these different kind of things and talk to Tony in person, go to his stores, check him out. He's gonna, like you said, what are you gonna do if someone comes in, Tony?
Yeah, we're gonna go through that whole fit process. We're not just gonna go and say, hey, this is the shoe for you on the wall. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna have an interview process. We're gonna be on the fitting stool. We're going to ask you a few questions. We're going to build a profile on you with our Fit ID right there on the iPad. We're going to talk to you about injuries, things that are going on, all the things that you're doing so we can find the best shoes for you.
For sure.
And if you're a first-time customer, go to our website, go to New Customer Club, download the $10 off New Customer Club coupon.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So guys, if you want to take your performance to the next level, stay injury-free, and just have an enjoyable experience running in fitness, not just running, in fitness in general. Some options you want to do here. So don't forget to like, subscribe. Like I said before, if you have any comments or any questions, leave it down below, and I'll see you in the next one.